We are officially getting into cozy season, which for me is like the perfect reading setup. When it's cold and rainy and dark outside, there's literally nothing better than curling up under a blanket with a cup of tea and a good book. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about all of the books that I want to read this autumn or fall period. I did do a little bit of research because there's often a bit of a debate on when seasons start and end, and officially, according to Google, autumn starts on the 22nd of September and it ends on the 21st of December. And I have spent the last few days curating a list of everything that I want to read this autumn. Is this ambitious of me? Yes, but I'm just in a reading mood at the moment and there are so many books I just really want to get to like right now. So I'm going to talk you through my full TBR. Will I get to all of these books? Maybe not. Will I read books that aren't on this list? Most definitely. But in an ideal world, these are the books that I would definitely read this autumn. So let's get into it. And I've broken this up into a few different categories. I've got series that I want to get finished, I've got some new releases that I want to read, and then an other category which fall into neither of those. So let's first start by going through some of the series that I'm currently reading that I definitely want to make sure that I get finished by the end of this year. If you see me avoiding any of these series, please shout at me in the comments and put me back on track because I'm terrible when it comes to series, but I'm trying my best to do better. Okay, so firstly, I have a series I only just recently started reading and absolutely fell in love with, became obsessed with, and I don't think this will be too difficult for me to finish. This is the Kingdom of Lies series, so I have read the first two and I now need to read book 3 and book 4. This is book 4 that I'm holding here because I actually took book 3 away with me and I now don't know where it is, but it is here somewhere. So this is a romantasy series and it's set in a world where we have humans and we have fae. There's quite a lot of action, there's a lot of plot twists. Yeah, I just think it's a really good time and definitely recommend picking up this series if you haven't already, but this is one that I definitely want to get finished. Okay, the next series on my list is again another very recent read, and that is the Kindred's Curse saga by Pen Cole. This is going to be a 4-book series. I have now read the first 2 books in the series. I would like to read the 3rd book by the end of the year, and then the 4th book, I'm not sure when it comes out, sometime next year, I think. This again is a romantasy series. It's a very slow burn romance, so if you are somebody who loves slow burn romance, I think you will like this, and it's really nice to see that in a romantasy series because often we kind of have a slow burn romance throughout the first book and then they kind of get together and that's that for the rest of the series. It's not like that in this series. It is definitely very slow burn, but I love it, and yeah, I would like to get that series finished. Okay, so the next series I would like to finish is the Plated Prisoner series. I have read the first 3 books in this series and I have books 4 and 5 here to read, and I'm pretty sure book 6 comes out this month, but it won't be coming out in paperback, so I might just read that one on Kindle until the paperback comes out. But yeah, this is another romantasy series. It's a dark romantasy series, especially the first book or the first couple of books. It's a King Midas retelling. We don't really get any romance in the first book, and then what we do get in the second book is very much slivers, but I absolutely loved it. The second book was amazing, and yeah, I'm really excited to continue on with this series. The books do get pretty chunky, but they're so easy and quick to read, so don't let that put you off. Okay, the next series, again, another fantasy or romantasy series, is the Fate and Flame series by K.A. Tucker. This is the 3rd book, and then the 4th and final book has recently just come out. I don't have it yet, but it has just come out, so I would really like to get this series finished. This one is a little bit more complicated to explain, so I'm not really going to go into any detail, but we have our female main character who is from our world as we know it, and she basically ends up in this fantasy world where there are elves, there are kind of witch-like creatures, vampires. I did actually start reading this book when we were on a long car journey. I listened to the audiobook, but I'm only like 70 or 80 pages in, so yeah, this is just another series I would love to finish and get off my list. 2 more series to talk through. So the next one is Boys of Torment. I just have Taming 7 to read now, and then I will be up to date with this series. This is Claire and Gibbs's book, and I'm really excited to read this, although I just haven't heard the greatest things about this book, and I have to admit that has put me off reading it a little bit. I mean, I'm still definitely going to read it, but it's just meant that it's not you know, right there on the forefront of my mind. But yeah, I want to catch up with this series. I love this series. This is a romance series. Different books follow different couples, but you kind of do need to read all of them, I will say. This is the only book that will be following Claire and Gibbsy. The first 2 books were about Johnny and Shannon. Second 2 books were about Joey and Aoife, and then this is Claire and Gibbsy's book. And yeah, this one I just have heard is not as good as the others, but I'm still going to read it. It's a little bit shorter as well, which is nice compared to how long some of the other books in this series are. This is a very emotional romance series. It's set in Cork in Ireland. It's new adult, I would say. Definitely do look up trigger warnings for this series because a lot of heavy stuff happens. And then the last series I would like to get up to date with is Lakefront Billionaires. Oops. This is Love Unwritten. The series is by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in this series, and I loved the first book in this series. It was probably my favourite Lauren Asher book I've ever read, maybe mixed with Throttled, because I just love Throttled, which is like her first ever book I think that she wrote. Anyway, I really want to read this one. I actually don't know if I've really heard anything about it. It came out quite a while ago, and yeah, I just don't know if I've heard that much about this book, but I always find her books so quick and easy to read, and I really enjoy them. This is like small town billionaire romance. I think this particular one is between a single dad and the nanny, I believe. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. It's on Kindle Unlimited as well, so I'll probably read it on there. Okay, we've got all of the series out of the way, so now let's talk through some new releases that I would like to get to. The first one, and this probably will not come as a surprise to you if you have watched some of my videos, the third and final book in the Sacred Stones trilogy is coming out on the 8th of October, and I will be reading this. I've already pre-ordered it and I can't wait for it to come out. This is a romantasy series. The first book in the series is A Dawn of Onyx. For me, both of the 2 books that are out in the series have been 5 stars. I've absolutely just loved them. They're really easy and quick romantasy books to read actually, so if you're not a big romantasy reader, honestly the books in the series that are out anyway are not too long and they're really quick and easy to read. It's very much a romantasy, like very heavy on the romance, but it's just a good time. I love this series and yeah, I can't wait for that book to come out. Next on the list is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a sequel to Better Than the Movies. This comes out on the 24th of September and I loved Better Than the Movies. It was a 5-star book for me. I was so surprised at how much I loved it. It just literally felt like watching one of my favourite rom-coms. It was amazing. It's a young adult romance. If you haven't read it, I really recommend that you do. I love it and I can't wait to see what happens in the sequel. I didn't really expect that it needed a sequel, but I'm definitely seated and I'm gonna read it. And then the final new release that I have on my list is Never Keep by Susan and Caroline Peckman. These are the authors of The Zodiac Academy and this is the first book in a new series and it's called The Sins of the Zodiac series. It comes out on the 24th of September. It's basically set in the same world as The Zodiac Academy, but it doesn't follow those characters, so it's a completely new series. I'm really excited to read it. I have really enjoyed The Zodiac Academy. I still have not finished it because the book that I am up to is so ridiculously long and it's like putting me off reading it, and I also know that people don't love that book. So I'm kind of at an impasse when it comes to Zodiac Academy. I definitely do want to finish it, but I am put off by that book. So we will see how I go. But I definitely want to read this new series. I think Zodiac Academy is just a really fun time and hopefully this new series will be just the same. Okay, now we can just move on to the other general books I want to make sure that I read this season. So the first one that I have is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is so many people's favourite book and I am just so excited to read it. I think it's a perfect book as well to read during the cozy season because it's quite sad. It's definitely not like a light summer-hearted read. It takes place during the Second World War in France. It follows 2 sisters. It's very sad. Those are the things that I know about it, and I know people love Kristen Hanna books. I've never read one before, so this will be my gateway into Kristen Hanna. I'm really excited to read it, and yeah. Okay, so the next book that I want to read is actually a classic, which is very unlike me, but that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I have never read Jane Eyre. I have read a couple of classics, mainly Jane Austen ones, but I love Jane Eyre, the story, so I've watched the film, I love it, and recently when I was talking to some family members actually about what classics to read, they recommended reading Jane Eyre because apparently it's actually a really easy read as a classic. Oh, this is Ben. This is my special edition. It is gorgeous. I don't know if I will actually read this edition. Actually, I think I will because it's pretty easy to read. It's just that it's very heavy. This is one of the painted editions by Harper Muse, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. It's really pretty. So yeah, I would definitely like to get to this. I'm not a massive classics reader, but I'm hoping I'll manage to do this one. It looks really long in this format, like it's like a big chunky book, but I'm pretty sure when I've seen like the normal Penguin Classics edition, it's not that big. Yeah, this is like over 600 pages. It's definitely not that long. I don't know, maybe I will pick up the Penguin Classics edition if I can find it, maybe in like a charity shop or something, and just save this one for display because I love this edition so much. Okay, the next book that I have on my list is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I read Part of Your World, which is the first book in this series. I then for some reason never got Yours Truly, but then I got the newer one just for the summer and I was going to dive straight into that, and then everybody said no, read Yours Truly first. So I am going to do that, and I know that loads of people absolutely love this book, so I don't know why I never picked it up and read it, because it's a 5-star book for so many people and I really like Abby Jimenez's writing. So I don't know why I just didn't feel the need to pick it up, but I will be picking it up and reading it hopefully this autumn winter season. I'm definitely in a big fantasy mood and that goes well with this time of year, but it's always nice to have some romance books to break that up a little bit. So yeah, that one is definitely on my list. Okay, this next one is probably the scariest of every book's on this list, and I don't know why I am so intimidated by this series, but I am. Crescent City. I still haven't read it. I'm still very scared to read it. This is the third series that Sarah J Maas has written. It is an adult fantasy series with romance. It's set in the modern day, so they have phones and things like that. I think our main character is a detective, like working for the police, something like that. I've just heard that the like first however many pages is just a lot of world building and that it's quite slow to get into, and that scares me. I was scared to read Throne of Glass, to be honest. That intimidated me because it's such a long series, but I absolutely loved it and I'm so glad that I read it. So hopefully this one will go the same. Yeah, I need to at least read the first book this year. I have to. Okay, so next I have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is a horror, I want to say, or is it a thriller? I don't know. I had it on my 24 books to read in 2024 list to read a Riley Sager book. This is the one that I ended up buying, and this is obviously the perfect time of year to read one. So I would like to read this. As I said, I'm not sure if it's a horror or a thriller. It's a haunted house kind of setting. I think this will be really fun, and I've heard really good things about Riley Sager's books, so I would like to pick up some more. But yeah, this is the one that I have, and this is the one that I would definitely like to make sure that I get to this year. If you have any recommendations of Riley Sager books that you loved, let me know in the comments and I will pick those up as well. But yeah, I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm actually planning on filming a 24-hour readathon this weekend, and I really want to read this, but Ollie's away and I'm going to be home alone, and I don't know if this is going to really scare me. So actually maybe I won't read it this weekend, but yeah, hopefully I will read it soon. Okay, next I have a series that I would like to read, or at least get started on, and that is the Gods and Monsters series by Amber V. Nicole, the first book being the Book of Azrael. This is a romantasy series. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I have the first book downloaded, ready to go. I just want to dive into it. I don't really know anything about this series, so I can't tell you anything about it other than the fact that it's a romantasy series. I think it might be a darker romantasy series, but don't hold me to that. I literally have no idea. I'm going from the vibes of the cover, if I'm honest. Okay, next is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I know that this is also a series, but I only have the first book, so this is what's on my list. Excuse the fact that the sticker is on here. I've had this book for so long and I've not taken the sticker off. That's probably going to be a nightmare to get off. This I think is like a gothic fantasy book or series. I know that death is a character in this book, and this just feels like the perfect autumnal spooky kind of read, so I have been saving it for this season. I'm excited to read it. I feel like I've heard very mixed things, like some people love it, some people don't. We'll see how I feel. It was only £3.50 from the works, so if I don't love it, it's not the end of the world. Okay, the next one on this list, people have been shouting at me to read this book, and again, this is one that's really intimidating to me, but I am going to do my best to read it soon. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Again, I have seen such mixed things for this book, and that is what scares me. I've seen some people absolutely love it, give it 5 stars, one of their favourite books that they've read this year, and other people just did not like it at all and couldn't get into it, couldn't understand it, couldn't follow it, and that scares me a lot. This book is on Kindle Unlimited, but for some reason the formatting is really messed up and it just like keeps taking you back to the contents page, because I have actually gone to start reading it on my Kindle, because this is obviously a big hardback, and it just wasn't working very well, and I don't know why, especially the prologue. So I think I might start this book physically and then see if I can switch to the Kindle version, because I would quite like to read it on my Kindle. This again is a romantasy book. I'm pretty sure it's a series, and this is the first book in the series. Yeah, it's called the Moonfall series. I don't really know too much about it. I believe that there are dragons in it. It says on the back, he's fire and brimstone, I'm shattered ice, I'll gladly burn beneath him until the world comes crumbling down. As I said, I've heard very mixed things, but I am excited to read it, but very nervous. This is one that I'm pretty sure I will definitely get to in the next month or so, and I will definitely include it in a reading vlog, so stay tuned. Okay, the next book is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This is a witchy romance. I think it's just a fun time. It's quite a few years old now, I think, and I never read it, but it's on Kindle Unlimited, I noticed, so I have downloaded it, and I just think that'll be a good book to read in October around the spooky Halloween season. That's all I've got to say on that one. The next book is a thriller, and that is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I saw Sarah and Destiny read and love this quite a long time ago. I then saw Ellen Catherine read it, and she loved it as well. So I just need to pick it up. I don't really read that many thrillers, but I want to read more, because whenever I do, I really enjoy reading a thriller. Like, I enjoy how fast-paced they are and quick to read, and it's just something a little bit different. And especially, I think, in these upcoming months, that is kind of the time to read a thriller. So yeah, I would like to read The Last Word. I'm pretty sure this follows a writer and she has like a stalker, I think. Is it something like that? Or she gets a bad review, or she leaves a bad review. I can't remember. It's something to do with the book world, and it's apparently really good, so I would like to read it. And I've just realised, is Taylor Adams the author of No Exit? Because I did read that a long time ago, like literally 4 years ago, and I really enjoyed that book. So if that is by her, cool. Don't know why I've literally just put that together, and it might be completely wrong, but I'm sure that that author was called Taylor Adams. Okay, and now we have the last book, and I would just like to say there are obviously so many books that I would like to read, but I am trying to be realistic and not have this list go on forever and ever. But really, most of the books on my TBR I really want to get to. Most of the books I have downloaded on Kindle I really want to get to, but I had to narrow it down, so I have. So the final book is A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the Flesh and Fire series, and this is an interconnected series with Blood and Ash, and I read the first 3 books in Blood and Ash years ago, and then I stopped because the 3rd book I just found so hard to get through, but I know that that is a common issue that people have. Anyway, in this universe and this series, after those books, you then are supposed to read this book, which is the first book in Flesh and Fire. This is A Shadow in the Ember. And this is kind of a prequel series, but as I said, the way you're supposed to read it is interconnected with those Blood and Ash books. So you read this one, and then I think you read the 4th Blood and Ash book, and then you read the 2nd one in this series. So I'm going to see how I go. I know that loads of people way prefer this series to Blood and Ash and think it's way better, so I don't know. I will read this book, see how it goes. I will then maybe try and read the 4th book in Blood and Ash, but if I'm not enjoying it, I may just stick to this series. I don't know. We will see. It's going to be a bit of a journey. I don't know what to expect. I did really like Blood and Ash, by the way. The first 2 books I really enjoyed. It was just the 3rd book I found so hard to get through. So I've just heard such good things about this series, and I felt like I couldn't miss it. So, and there we have it. That is my full TBR. As you can see, lots of romantasy on this list. I am in a massive romantasy mood. It's the perfect time of year to be reading romantasy, so that is why this list is very heavy on romantasy. However, I definitely will be wanting to break some of these series and books up with romance books. Obviously, I do have a few romance books on this list, but there are many others that I haven't included, and I will just probably pick up as and when I am feeling them. Will I finish this full TBR? Unlikely, going by my track record, but we will see. I'm gonna make a list on my Notion, so it's there to remind myself of the books that I've said are at the top of my list. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope that you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!